Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
What type of hospital are you running? No antiseptics?
You have been away too long, Doctor. With the war and now this epidemic, supplies have been running scarce for months now.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Pepper, are you...
To become a nurse was a little girl's dream.
But you're doing something important.
We save lives, sure. Each time we send a cured patient home, it's a relief beyond words. But since the epidemic...
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doc.
I'd like to...
Wise choice.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while they're...
I'm sorry, I don't...
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know that
That's not a surprise.
Does it not, Bob?
Sometimes I think she may be right.
Goodbye, Milton.
If only there were more of us.
Good evening, Nurse.
Good evening.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim...
If it wasn't for him...
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as...
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender...
Goodbye, Nurse. Good evening, Mr. Cox.
Dr. Reed.
And why?
People who don't sleep at night always seem more...
Do you ever think about that?
The wound he gave me will make sure I don't...
That man was determined to...
What a surprise. The first time I met him,
What did he want?
I recently had to kill his brother. Poor arsehole thought it would be easy to return the favour.
Only the strongest survive, then? Survival at all costs. Is that all you think about?
I'm the toughest bastard you'll ever meet, Dr. Reed. And I don't give a fuck what you think of me.
How is your hospitalization going, Mr. Cox?
This is a shitty place with shitty staff. But as long as I'm treated...
What's wrong?
That bastard you sent to bring me here, Milton. I thought he was gonna break all my bones before I reached...
I see.
The nurses aren't too ugly.
What's wrong?
Come on, Dr. Reed. The place is...
But you're alive, thank...
What are you expecting, a medal?
I'll leave you for... Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody... So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well. It's locked. Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. This key will surely grant me access to the basement. It's locked, all right. Balls of Mars, fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful. These scowls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood. It's locked. Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this. Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs. Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman. The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened. Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips. Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps? A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was successful. Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then, he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked. Tippett has made an agreed... Skulls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting. Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are
I
you?
need blood.
Tell me, Thelma. Would you say...
No. No, Thomas is a...
Do you plan to...
Of course not. How could I inflict
I'll leave you. Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate. It's locked, all right. Good evening. I'm...
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he...
A colleague?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana. Pawnbroker and...
What do you mean? You used to be a...
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise.
Please show me.
Of course. Tomorrow, more bodies will... Good evening.
A pawnbroker?
Yes, sir.
Who comes?
I'm very cautious.
What kind?
With the quarantine,
Are you afraid?
why should I? These bodies are empty.
An interesting point of...
Sir,
How did you get...
after I left the army,
Have we met?
I don't think...
When we first talked, you said you were...
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago.
Do you work here?
Yes,
Why do you...
because
Why clothes?
it was for sanitary reasons.
Have we met?
I don't think...
When we first...
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Goodbye, Mr.
It never ceases to amaze me how you, the dead, seem peaceful and long.
I cannot enter.
I'm sorry you ended up on my plain and cold medical.
It's locked. It's locked, all right. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
A giant morgue disguised as a hospital. That's Hamlet nowadays.
Hello again.
Goodbye.
My blood and soul,
It's locked.
they belong to you now.
The life running in my veins. This dead flesh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have some good...
What?
I retrieved your wallet.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl.
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money.
Tell me why you're
If a patient wants a bed.
Where did you get the idea?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed...
What's going on?
Pippa's tired.
During the war,
Maybe you're right.
you do realize you could both...
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know...
Goodbye, Milton. Good evening, nurse.
Good evening.
Tell me what Dr. Tippett did.
If I had not covered up his error, Doctor...
You can't allow your emotions to dictate...
Look around you, Dr. Reed.
Perhaps you did it with the best intentions.
You mean you've never made a mistake?
Goodbye, nurse. Good evening.
Dr.
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient.
Who was...
I don't know.
Why not...
Are you mad? I killed...
What was the...
It was a twofold error.
I will cover for you, Dr. Tippett, by keeping what happened to Mr. Connor to myself.
I don't know what...
You didn't force me. This is my decision to make.
Then I can make you this promise. As soon as the epidemic is eradicated, I will resign.
Goodbye, Dr.
Finally, you've returned.
Yes, Nat.
You've worked your first...
Duty calls?
Many thanks, Doctor.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, madam.
It's my son.
I'm Dr. Jonathan.
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of...
What can you...
Not much to say.
Are you really that rich?
Yes, thanks to my...
May I ask if...
I'm a teacher by profession.
What do you think of your reception here?
I have had the uttermost reservations about...
Is there something in particular that...
Some of the staff were not especially well...
Tell me more about your...
The ambulance driver was quite...
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son to...
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question.
I share your
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Mrs. Good evening.
No, I don't want...
I suppose that this pain is the
Yes.
Could you at least...
Mortimer.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir.
You are not a burden.
And you have my...
Do you need any help? Do you need any help?
Thank you, Dr. Reed, but you've done enough already.
Tell me about
I
it.
don't want to talk.
How
So painful,
I'm sure.
Not really.
I see.
Yes, maybe.
Why did
My mother just wants to...
Pembroke...
It's not me you have to convince.
Is your mother bothering?
That's tempting, Doctor.
How pain...
So painful.
I'll let you...
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Helen. As for me, what a blundering idiot.
So many deaths. And what of my own life?
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea. But my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive?
I cannot express my thrill at the...
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
There is no need to apologize, Edgar. You offered me sanctuary when I had none.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my...
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would...
And you would like me to...
By the stole, of course not.
Accepted. I'll...
Do you need some...
I have just...
Then ask.
Since I'm the one working for you...
Well, for many years we have...
Where do we...
To be honest, we cope on it.
What do you...
What we need is...
You mentioned something...
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific
That explains your nightly...
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chains.
Yet you don't fear me.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for...
Since you seem quite the expert...
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings, and the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
The sun.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory.
He was a Skrull, technically speaking. The debate raged.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skrull?
A Skrull is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
Where do...
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
We'll see each other. The flower's dying. It needs water.